Ladies and gentlemen, gather round for a tale of glory, heartbreak, and more plot twist than a Brazilian telenovela. That's right. We're diving into the rise and fall of Brazil's football team after the Rio Olympics. Spoiler alert, it's not all samba and sunshine. Let's kick things off, literally. To truly understand the rise and fall of Brazil's football team, we need to rewind the tape way back. Brazil's football legacy didn't begin in 2016. It began decades earlier, in the mid-20th century, when the country first captured the world's imagination with its mesmerizing style of play. Let's talk about the glory days. The year is 1958. Brazil wins its first World Cup in Sweden, led by a 17-year-old phenom named Pelé. But let's talk about how he got there, because Pelé's journey wasn't just about raw talent, it was about overcoming odds. Born Edson Arantes do Nascimento in a poor neighborhood in Brazil, Pelé grew up kicking around a makeshift ball made of socks or grapefruits. Football wasn't just a game for him, it was his escape and his destiny. By the time he was 15, he was already turning heads playing for Santos FC, scoring goals like it was second nature. Fast forward to the 1958 World Cup in Sweden, and Pelé was selected for the national team as the youngest player in the tournament. His inclusion was seen as a gamble. After all, what could a 17-year-old possibly contribute on the world's biggest stage? Well, the kid shut everyone up. Pelé scored 6 goals in total, including a hat trick in the semifinal against France. Imagine being 17 years old and scoring 3 goals in a World Cup semi. Insane. But his crowning moment came in the final against Sweden. Pelé scored twice in Brazil's 5-2 victory, including one of the most iconic goals of all time. He flicked the ball over a defender's head and volleyed it into the net. The crowd went wild, and Pelé became a global sensation overnight. What made Pelé's performance groundbreaking wasn't just the goals, it was his style of play. He was fast, fearless, and played with a creativity that the footballing world had never seen before. At just 17, he gave Brazil their first World Cup trophy and changed the sport forever. Pelé wasn't just a star, he was the embodiment of Brazil's footballing soul, joyful, expressive, and unstoppable. Fast forward to 1970, the World Cup in Mexico. This is peak Brazil. Pelé is still around, and he's joined by a squad so talented, they might as well be the Avengers of football. They don't just win, they dominate. Playing a brand of football so beautiful, it's like poetry in motion. The team's 4-1 victory over Italy in the final is still considered one of the greatest performances in the history of the sport. Brazil is on top of the world, but the glory doesn't stop there. Over the next few decades, Brazil continues to produce legends. Zico, the midfield maestro of the 1980s, dazzled fans with his vision, free kicks, and knack for scoring goals, earning him the nickname the White Pelé. Romário, the deadly striker, carried Brazil to World Cup glory in 1994, his clinical finishing turning him into a national hero. Then came Ronaldo, the original R9, a phenomenon who combined pace, power, and finesse. He led Brazil to their 5th World Cup title in 2002, scoring twice in the final and cementing his place as one of football's greatest. These players didn't just win trophies, they became icons, each representing a different chapter in Brazil's golden era of football. By the time the 21st century rolls around, Brazil has 5 World Cup titles, more than any other country. Now, let's bring it back to the modern era. The year is 2014. Brazil is hosting the World Cup. Expectations are sky high. The team is stacked with talent, including the new golden boy, Neymar Jr. But then tragedy strikes. In the quarterfinals against Colombia, Neymar suffers a back injury that rules him out for the rest of the tournament. The hopes of an entire nation rest on the shoulders of the remaining squad. And then came the nightmare, the semifinal against Germany. You know the one, the 7-1 humiliation that left an entire country in shock. Let's really unpack this football apocalypse, because it wasn't just a loss, it was a dismantling of an entire footballing identity. In Brazil, the media calls it a national humiliation. Newspapers splash headlines like "shame" and "the day Brazilian football died." Political cartoons depict the players as clowns and the coach as the grim reaper of football. Even non-football fans are talking about it. This isn't just about a game, it's about Brazil's cultural identity. Football is supposed to be their birthright, and yet Germany just took it, stomped on it, and left it in pieces. The long-term impact of this match is enormous. The 7-1 result forces Brazil to reevaluate everything. their tactics, their coaching, their player development systems. It sparks debates about whether Brazilian football has become too reliant on individual stars like Neymar instead of building strong, cohesive teams like Germany. For years after, 7-1 becomes shorthand for utter failure. If someone messes up at work or burns dinner, Brazilians joke, at least it's not 7-1. And yet, despite the pain, this match also serves as a wake-up call. Brazilian football had been coasting on nostalgia. Germany showed the world that success requires modern strategies, discipline, and teamwork. The 7-1 may have shattered Brazil's pride, but it also planted the seeds of change. The game that turned Brazilian fans into memes. It was a national trauma, footballing equivalent of a Shakespearean tragedy. Brazil's golden aura had been shattered. Which brings us to 2016, the Rio Olympics, Brazil's chance at redemption. The men's football team had never won Olympic gold. Yes, they'd conquered the World Cup 5 times, but that Olympic gold medal had always eluded them. It was like a missing piece of the puzzle. Enter Neymar Jr., now the captain of the Olympic squad. With his blonde highlights, million-dollar smile, and talent to make defenders look like confused toddlers, he was the hero Brazil needed. The nation's hopes were pinned on him. The tournament starts, and Brazil stumbles out of the gate, drawing their first 2 group stage matches. The first match against South Africa ends in a frustrating 0-0 draw. Brazil's attack looks sluggish, Neymar seems off his rhythm, and fans in the stadium are already grumbling. Is this the same Brazil we've been hyping up? Commentators ask. Match 2 doesn't get any better. Another scoreless draw, this time against Iraq. Yes, Iraq. And suddenly, Brazil's tournament looks like it might end before it even begins. At this point, critics are sharpening their knives. Headlines start calling the team broken, and Neymar is getting blamed for everything short of global warming. But inside the locker room, the mood shifts. Neymar steps up as the leader Brazil desperately needs. In a players-only meeting, he reportedly gives an impassioned speech. No one knows exactly what he said, but I'd like to think it involved some swearing, motivational one-liners, and a reference to their mothers. Then comes the third group match against Denmark. Finally, the real Brazil shows up. Neymar orchestrates the game like a maestro, dishing out assists like candy on Halloween. Brazil wins 4-0. Relief washes over the country. For the first time, they look like champions. From there, it's as if a switch flips. In the quarterfinals, Brazil dismantles Colombia 2-0, with Neymar scoring a stunning free kick that nearly breaks the internet. By the semifinals, they face Honduras, and this match is just pure domination. Brazil wins 6-0, with Neymar scoring the fastest goal in Olympic history just 14 seconds after kickoff. Fans are screaming, stadiums are shaking, and the entire nation is starting to believe this might actually happen. Just like that, Brazil marches to the final, where they face, you guessed it, Germany. The football gods have a twisted sense of humor. The final is tense. It goes to penalties. Neymar steps up for the decisive kick. The stadium goes silent. He does that little stutter step thing that makes goalkeepers hate their lives. And boom, scores. Brazil wins gold. The crowd loses its collective mind. Neymar collapses to the ground, crying like he just watched the ending of Marley and Me. The whole country is dancing in the streets. It's beautiful. Redemption achieved. But this isn't a fairy tale. This is football. And in football, as in life, what goes up must come down. Fast forward to 2018, the World Cup in Russia. Brazil is back, and expectations are higher than Neymar's salary. Everyone's thinking, we've got this. Olympic gold was just the warm-up act. But then disaster strikes. Neymar gets injured right before the tournament. And when he finally does play, he spends more time rolling on the ground than actually kicking the ball. Seriously, the man looked like he was auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. Brazil crashes out in the quarterfinals to Belgium. Belgium, a country best known for waffles and a little statue of a boy peeing. It's humiliating. And just like that, the post-Olympic high is gone. Poof, like Neymar's blonde highlights. Now let's talk about what happens next. Spoiler, it gets weird. After the World Cup, the Brazilian Football Confederation decides it's time for a shakeup. They bring in new coaches, try out new tactics, and basically treat the team like a science experiment. Meanwhile, Neymar's off doing whatever Neymar does, endorsing products, getting into into Instagram drama and occasionally playing football. The man is living his best soap opera life. Then comes 2019, the Copa América. Brazil actually wins. But here's the kicker. Neymar isn't even playing. He's injured again. It's like the universe has decided Brazil can only win when Neymar is sitting on the sidelines. But the victory is short-lived. By the time we hit the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the cracks are showing. The team's inconsistent, the tactics are questionable, and Neymar's form is, well, let's just say it's not peak Neymar. Brazil gets knocked out in the quarterfinals again, this time by Croatia. Yes, Croatia, a country with fewer people than the city of Rio. At this point, Brazilian fans are like, can we get a refund on this decade? Let's break it down. The match starts with Brazil dominating possession, as they often do, but they struggle to break down Croatia's disciplined defensive structure. It's as if Croatia built an invisible wall across the pitch. Neymar, once again Brazil's focal point, tries to create magic, darting around defenders and testing the goalkeeper. In the second half of extra time, Neymar delivers. A moment of brilliance. He weaves through the Croatian defense, combines with a teammate, and slams the ball into the roof of the net. It's a goal worthy of his talent, and it ties him with Pelé for the most goals in Brazil's history. Brazil celebrates like they've already won, but here's the twist. Croatia doesn't go down quietly. Minutes later, with their first real chance of the match, they equalize. A deflected shot rolls past Alisson, Brazil's keeper, and suddenly it's 1-1. Extra time ends and we head to penalties. Brazil's kryptonite. Croatia, calm and clinical, score every single penalty. Meanwhile, Brazil falters. Marquinhos hits the post, and with that, Brazil's World Cup dreams are over. The Croatian players celebrate, their fans erupt, and Brazil's players collapse to the ground in despair. Neymar, inconsolable, stands alone, visibly crushed. The cameras zoom in on Brazilian fans in tears, some holding up their hands as if to say, how did this happen again? The fallout is immediate. Analysts tear apart Brazil's tactics, questioning why they failed to defend their lead. Where was the midfield leadership to see out the game? Fans point fingers at Coach Tite for questionable decisions, like his substitutions and his approach to penalties. Once again, Brazil's golden generation comes up short, leaving a nation wondering if the team can ever reclaim its dominance. The media doesn't hold back. Headlines read, history repeats itself, and Neymar's heroics not enough. Meanwhile, memes flood the internet, poking fun at Brazil's inability to make it past the quarterfinals. For Brazil, the loss to Croatia feels like another chapter in a tragic script. Immense talent, flashes of brilliance, but ultimate heartbreak. The match highlights Brazil's reliance on Neymar, as well as their struggles to adapt against organized, defensively solid teams. And once again, the world is left asking, when will Brazil rise again? So what happened? How did the team that conquered the Olympics fall from grace so quickly? Let's break it down. First, there's the Neymar factor. Don't get me wrong, the guy's insanely talented, but he's also insanely injury prone. And when your entire team revolves around one player, it's like putting all your chips on one number in roulette. Sooner or later, you're gonna lose. Second, there's the leadership problem. Brazil has gone through more coaches than a reality show goes through contestants, and each one has a different vision. One wants tiki-taka, another wants counterattacks, and another just wants to survive without getting fired. It's chaos. And finally, let's talk about the competition. The rest of the world has caught up. Teams like Belgium, Croatia, and even the United States are getting better. Yes, I said the United States. Don't laugh, they're coming for you. So where does Brazil go from here? Well, the future is uncertain, but one thing's for sure. Brazil's love affair with football isn't going anywhere. This is a country where kids learn to dribble before they can walk, where every street corner has a makeshift goalpost, and where football is basically a religion. And who knows, maybe the next Neymar is out there right now, kicking a ball around on some dusty pitch, dreaming of glory. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Brazil always finds a way to rise again. So, to all the Brazilian fans out there, keep the faith, and to the rest of the football world, watch your backs. Because when Brazil comes back, they come back swinging. And that's the story of the rise and fall of Brazil's football team after the Rio Olympics. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, keep your passes crisp and your dreams big.